Good morning, Orange Lily. Salute to you. Make sure you hit the like button. Well, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Freedom marchers, freedom lovers, freedom family, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla Gorillas in the building, hitting y'all upside the head with this morning paper. And oh, what a paper is going to be, y'all. Now, if, you know, you guys been following my channel since Charlie Kirk's death, you know that I've discussed Candace Owens' investigation into his assassination a couple times. And, you know, I didn't know it would lead to the things that she's discussing today. She has been on a trail down a rabbit hole that goes quite deep, and it all comes full circle, right? It comes back to what I always talk about when I talk about the elite class, right? When I talk about the elites, and what they really want What do the elites want out of the world? What do they want from the people? Right? What do they want? They want power and access to your children. I always talk about that. They want power. They want power to control the masses. Now, I'm going to go through a little pocket right now that might drop my signal, but make sure you guys come back, okay? If I lose my signal for a second. So anyway, what do the elite class want? Power and access to your children. Now, the power that they want is the power to control the masses. And why do they want so desperately to control the masses? Because they want access to your children, right? I know it sounds like an oversimplification. World economics, geopolitics, war, all these things. Access to resources and all that. Of course, that's part of it, right? Resources, right? Because if you control the resources, well, you control the world. If you control access to resources, you control the world. If you limit people's access to resources, you control those people, right? Stormy B-Man's in the building. Salute to my brother, the Uncle Stormy B-Man, the sensei. Salute to the sensei. That was a great cook you had on had last night on BF's channel. When you did your Tuesday tussle, I was asleep by then, bro. I'll be going to bed early. Anyway, but I need to catch the replay. So, it's if you control the resources, right? As an elite, as the elite class, as the government, whatever you want to call it, dictatorship, communist, whatever you want to call it. It's all about access, controlling access, and limiting the people's access to what you want to control. What you create is you create a dependency. You create an atmosphere where the general population has to depend on the elite few to go about living life. And that's why I have such a huge problem with big government, right? And this is what this all comes down to. I want you guys to understand that. Now, when Charlie Kirk was killed, Candace Owens was suspicious, right? She was suspicious about the FBI story. It didn't make sense to her. And of course, being who she is, she has access to certain individuals in Turning Point, certain individuals within the government, all these different things, right? And so she has a very unique position. And she has used that position to dig deep into this whole situation. And where did it lead her? Right? It led her to being on Israel's heels, right? Being on Israel. Israel this, Israel that. She never outright accused Israel of killing Charlie Kirk. But she did point out certain things about Israel that was suspicious, right? Like him losing Zionist donors, right? Pro-Israel Zionist donors. Benjamin Nosferatu inviting him to Israel and offering him a shitload of money that would change or that would do so much for Turning Point USA. And Charlie Kirk refusing. Then you had the Hamptons situation where Charlie Kirk said it was basically an intervention. All these things, right? She was on this Israel trail. Then fast forward to the Egyptian planes. The Egyptian planes that she researched and she found out was following Charlie Kirk over a number of years, bada boom, bada bing. Fast forward even more, so now you get all these connections, real connections, right? I know there are a lot of people out there that don't believe Candace Owens, that thinks that she's a nut basket or thinks that she's controlled opposition, thinks that, you know, she's out here, she's part of the psychological operation. And that may very well be true, because we don't know Candace Owens. We don't know what she's doing from day to day. We don't know where she's at. But what we do know is that she has been pointing out the Israeli genocide for 2 years. Not a very popular thing to do. Not a very, you know, it's not a very popular position to believe that Israel's committing genocide in Israel or in Gaza. And being on that for 2 years is not a very popular position amongst the elite class, amongst mainstream media, and even amongst the media that she was used to moving in and out of, right? You know, the Turning Point USA, the Daily Wire, PragerU, you know, the usual conservative suspects, right? Not very popular position. Okay. Maybe she's some type of controlled opposition. But I'd like to point out that if she's controlled opposition in regards to Israel, well, she's telling the truth. She's speaking facts about the genocide occurring in Gaza that is being orchestrated by Israel. These are facts. So controlled opposition putting out facts, right? That's what. So if she's controlled opposition, or she doesn't believe what she's telling us, she's telling the truth, right? So I tend to focus on the substance of what a person is saying before I think about. I don't care, right? I have no access to Candace Owens. It doesn't matter to me if she's controlled opposition, if she's telling the truth. She's telling the truth about Israel. If she's telling the truth about the Egyptian planes, right? Very suspicious, right? Telling the truth about these joint exercises that happened in Montana or wherever it was in California. If these things are happening, and then you got the Egyptian plane, and then she has people telling her, salute the story B man, he says, walking on eggshells. Yeah. Think about it. If these are indeed the facts, then that's what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on, well, is what she's saying true or not? Now, some of the things are speculation based on information she has. And that's, people do that, right? They come up with hypothesis. And when you create a hypothesis, you have to then do the research and the studies and the experiments to find out if your hypothesis is correct. And then you arrive at a scientific fact or a scientific theory. It's scientific theory until it's tested over and over again and stands up to rigorous testing. Then it becomes scientific fact, right? Now, then it comes to Brigitte Macron and what the investigation she had done about Emmanuel Macron and his he-she wife, right? Her talking about that. Her talking about how Brigitte Macron is really a man, right? And, right, she's talking about that. And it comes closer and closer to her arriving at that, because what she discovered about these Egyptian planes is that they would go to Delaware at some airport that has something to do with the French, owned by a French company. And then the threat that she says that the Macrons ordered an assassination on her life, order her assassination, and that they would use their elite units, right? What they're equivalent to the to the FBI in France, which is a domestic, basically a domestic group. And then she talked about how the French legionnaires actually killed Charlie Kirk, right? That's what she said. A very bold claim. To tell the world that Charlie Kirk's assassination was carried out by the French Foreign Legion. And the French Foreign Legion, salute to How to Be Free in the Building, salute to you, salute to Maria. She's telling the truth back, but proof, yeah, she's provided a lot of proof of what she's saying. Now, the French Foreign Legion, as we now know, and I always knew this, is made up of soldiers who are foreign to France, right? Not just foreign to France, but it also has some French soldiers, but they like to recruit, men from all over the world that belong to other militaries that may not have had the best track record in their respective units, right? They may have gone through some things, had dishonorable discharges, but outside of the bad things they did in their units, they were top-notch soldiers, right? Bottom line is, she says the French Foreign Legion carried out Charlie Kirk's assassination, according to what she was told by someone high up in the French government. Now think about that. It went from her suspicions of Israel, it may appear, to her suspicions of France. But those things are not mutually exclusive, right? Because it could have been a situation where the French in Israel, and she even says French, multiple states, right? Multiple states basically deployed the French Foreign Legion to take out Charlie Kirk. Egypt, Israel, France, with the knowledge of the U.S. government. That's what it, very bold claims. Very bold claims, right? So that's the French connection. The French connection would be that multiple world leaders from different nations had an issue with Charlie Kirk. They had an issue with Candace Owens, right? But the difference between, like I said before, Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk is Candace Owens was very outspoken, very dogged. And, if you're not careful with someone like Candace Owens, you will be heavily suspected in whatever may happen to her, right? Now, the Macrons had filed a lawsuit. They got Donald Trump to try to talk Candace down off the ledge and get Candace off their case, all these different things. And when that didn't work, when that doesn't work, when the powerful elites don't get their way, you don't back down. You don't shut the hell up. You don't do what they say. They'll try to ruin you, discredit you. And if that doesn't work, if they understand and realize that the people will still be behind you, which can create a problem for them, well, they'll take you out. Now, follow the logic here. Is this just about, why are the Macrons so upset? Why are the Macrons so upset about this? I mean, it's 2025, right? Who cares if a man marries a tranny? It's widely accepted. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? And it's France, right? It's France. France, they're a little weird out. They got some interesting proclivities in France. So what's the big deals? So he married a tranny, right? So Emmanuel Macron is attracted to a chick with a dick. What's the big deal, right? Well, that and that, you know, I have not followed Candace Owens' investigations on them Crones. I didn't watch her series on them, right? I guess she has 2 seasons. I need to go back and watch it. But for what I can gather, the problem is not when she's saying, listen, Brigitte Macron is really a man. No, that's not the problem, right? Well, what's the problem? Do I have sound now? Guys hear me? All right. Now, if to answer someone's question, if Turning Point USA is up to some shenanigans and is out of pocket and doing some crazy wild shit, they should be destroyed. I don't understand what. If Charlie Kirk ordered a super audit on TPUSA because he felt like there was some shenanigans going on, wouldn't you want to make some changes for the better? Well, if they take out Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA is not going to stay afloat without him anyway, right? It's not going to have the same. It doesn't have the same vigor. It doesn't have the Charlie Kirk. It doesn't have it. Now, I'm not a fan of Charlie Kirk. Never was. I think Charlie Kirk, it doesn't matter. Right? I think Charlie Kirk was, unfortunately, a tool to spread division. And he fell into that very happily and very comfortably. It is what it is. But it doesn't matter, right? Because Turning Point USA, they're doing a lot of things to themselves, right? The people that are running Turning Point USA now, they are running Turning Point USA into the ground. But never mind that. So now we get into what is the real problem with the the Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron situation. Jonah says, you low IQ gullible clowns that eat Candace's bullshit up with no hesitation is absolutely hilarious. Smooth brain stream. Okay. Someone said that she hasn't backed up anything. She has, though. She has backed up things. She has presented things that are available to the public. And she has backed up things, but you know, it is what it is. You guys ignore that and you want to say what you want. I don't care about none of that. And besides that, it is incumbent upon you to do your own research and fact checking. Just don't trust anything anybody says. It doesn't matter, right? The problem is with Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron is Did she groom not she? Did it groom, right? Because understand that Brigitte Macron is much older than Emmanuel Macron. And when they first encountered each other, he was a child and he was a grown-ass man. That is the issue, right? Not that he just married a chick with a dick. No. The problem comes when you start as a grown-ass man grooming a child in a sexual manner. So does Michelle. I don't know. Just because you say she doesn't mean she actually has. What? Just because you say she has doesn't mean she actually... What? Whatever. Shut up. Anyway. Just dumb. Just dumb. Brigitte sex change doctor doesn't even exist, bro. Like, for real, are you that gullible? Brigitte's sex change doctor doesn't even exist. The wildness. Anyway. The bottom line is, oh, he's made up. Okay. Okay. He doesn't exist. He's made up. Okay. Now, the problem is, if Brigitte Macron started to groom Emmanuel as a child, that's the problem. They're talking about Candace backing up things. They're just saying just because you say she doesn't mean she has. We've all seen it. Clear there is an idiot has it. Well, people choose to ignore what they want to ignore. It is what it is. He's a real person. Yes. But, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It only matters to the people that are willing to see the truth for what it is. So it fast forward to the DuPonts, and I gotta put all this stuff together, and I want to show you guys how the justice system in America protects PDF files. Not any PDF file, not the proletariat, low class PDF files, even though they wind up benefiting from what the justice system does to protect elite PDF files. Like the DuPont family. How many scandals exist for the DuPont family that she brought up, that the DuPonts end up being connected, right, to things that she's talking about in this whole case? There was a DuPont, I forgot his name is Pierre, that she talked about, and I looked it up, and it's actually true. The dude raped his own daughter, and when he was caught and put to trial, well, the judge gave him 0 time because he didn't feel like he would survive in prison. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, there are mandatory sentences, thanks to Joe Biden in the 94 crime bill. For people who possess weed, they get 5 years in prison automatically. That's in certain states. For if you possess a certain amount of crack, you get so many years, a minimum sentence. Why isn't that the case for pedophiles, rapists, and child sexual abuse? Why does that not happen for those individuals? But if you get caught with a vial of crack, they put you away for so many years. Someone says is this another car podcast shit? Why are you here? You know what? Let me help you out. You can go on about your business. You don't have to be here watching a car podcast. It's simple. Is the grooming a worldwide connection? You better believe it is. Well, that's the whole point, right, Sassy Mo? I mean, she talked about how they put a hit out on her. So obviously, yeah, she has to be extremely careful. If she's really about that life, we don't know. She could be controlled opposition. She could be a distraction. She could be doing whatever she's trying to. Who knows? She could be a part of the psychological operation. The fact is, she's putting truth out there. That's what we need to cling to. Right? Look up the DuPont family. It's wild. And then she goes into Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware, which is basically owned by the French and all these different things. And listen, there's a lot to it. But what I wanted to talk about was the fact that, these DuPont dudes were out there doing some nasty shit to children, and the justice system ensured that they did not get punished for causing harm to children. And this is a problem we have in our justice system. Right? And the reason that is because a lot of these elite class individuals like to participate in that nasty behavior. Right? They like to participate. And the justice system protects them. And that's why, because so many of these people actually do these things. And if they were to get caught, well, they don't want to have to get punished severely. So the justice system ensures that, well, when you get caught doing things to children, you're not really going to get punished like you should. The only just punishment I see for people like that is a summary execution, right? We don't even need to put you on death row. For what? You're convicted. You're found beyond a shadow of a doubt to have done this to children and to women. You rape a child. You rape a woman. You rape a man. Well, you don't need to live on this earth. Why are we housing these people for years? Why are we letting them get off with 6 months probation? Why are we allowing them to go back out into the world? Because they register? They put themselves on a registry? They put themselves on a registry, but they still get to live free. They just got to worry about being on a registry. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit, right? But this is what the justice system does. The justice system protects PDFs because the system is ran by PDFs. Point blank and period. Point blank and period. Look at the Epstein files. That's what this whole issue with the Epstein files is about. Right? It is about the reason we won't see the files like we should is because they have to protect the elite members on the files that did these things to children, because their whole world will come crashing down. Their power structure will collapse Because, right, if the people find out who did this to children, well, why would we listen to you? Why would we live under your rulership? Why would we want to continue to be controlled by you? Why would we continue to give our consent to be governed to you? Right? It's crazy. Keir Starmer loves young Ukrainian men. That's crazy. The people would overthrow the government. Well, that's what you would hope, right? Yes, the laws were changed to help protect them. And that's why I want to do a piece on Alfred Kinsey, right? Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Alfred Kinsey, but he is the reason the justice system goes so easy on PDF files. He is one of the reasons, right? Because he petitioned for the courts not to give such harsh punishments to PDF files because of these sick experiments he did. He did sick experiments where he used grown men to diddle children and then said, oh, well, the children really like it. That was his position. But I want to bring more of that to the people. I want you guys to understand how sick it really gets. And shout out to Queen's Throne, because she brought my attention to Alfred Kinsey. She did a lot of work and she did a lot of research. She basically did a documentary on Alfred Kinsey and the Kinsey Institute. Sam Hyde, what would I be joking about? You don't know who Alfred Kinsey is? Why would I joke about that? Alfred Kinsey. Look him up. He is a sexologist. A very controversial sexologist. My homegirl. Matter of fact, I want to get, because she has a lot of videos and she did a lot of work on this. They allow this? Absolutely. Absolutely. They allowed it. Of course they did. Yes. Alfred Kinsey was an American sexologist and professor. What? Founded the Institute for Sex Research at Indiana University, now known as the Kinsey Institute for Research in Sex, Gender, and Reproduction. He's best known for writing Sexual Behavior in the Human Male and Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. Yeah. Now, Kinsey's research on human sexuality, foundational to the field of sexology, provoked controversy in the 1940s and 50s and has continued to provoke controversies decades after his death. His work has influenced social and cultural values in the United States and United Kingdom, as well as internationally. Yeah. Yep. Yes, yes. But my homegirl, Queen's Throne, compiled a lot of information about this dude. A lot. And I'm going to see, now, the channel that she posted it on, they took that shit down. Well, I want to see if she still has those videos. I'll put them up on my channel. Yep. I'll risk getting my channel taken down to show you guys this nonsense. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Now, just so y'all know, the House voted to strip IU's Kinsey Institute of state funding. House Republican narrowly voted to strip Indiana University Kinsey Institute in Sex Research, Gender, and Reproduction of its state funding on a 53 to 34 vote. Now, freshman rep Larissa Sweet, she's a Republican, called Alfred Kinsey, who founded the Research Institute in 1947 with his reports on human sexuality, a child predator who studied orgasms in minors. I'm going to repeat that. Alfred Kinsey, who founded the Research Institution in 1947 with his reports on human sexuality, a child predator who studied orgasms in minors. The school continued to harbor child predators, she said. Who knows what they are still hiding? Could they be hiding child predators? If there's any place where Chris Hansen needs to catch a predator, it's Indiana University. So this woman said, oh no, hell no. Now, Pierce said Kinsey Institute's research did include studying pedophilia and how it can be treated or prevented. The school also studied the intersection of disability and sexual health, the use of condoms, relationship dynamics, and gender expression. Yes. So it goes deep, y'all. It goes deep. It goes deep. So anyway, I got to get out of here. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing if you shared. Thank you for your comments. Make sure y'all hit the like button on the way out. I'm glad that she brought up DuPonts in their scandal. And it makes sense. The trail makes sense to me. I choose to believe what she's saying. Not all of it. I don't. You can't believe everything everybody says. But the things that make sense, the thing that you can research and look into yourself. All the connections. Because a lot of these people are connected. And they share a sexual proclivity that would be looked upon very unfavorably by the public. And that has to do with children. Yes, they said the kids liked it. Yes. All right. No, you piss off, Juan. Yeah, you can piss off your goddamn self. You ain't never got to come back. Yeah, let me encourage you not to come back if you have a problem with my content. Yes. So I hope you guys understand. I always say it. What do the elites crave more than anything else besides power and control? Children. Yes. They want to freely have access to your children. They don't want you in the way. They don't want you in the way of their, they don't want you in the way. When they want to be able to freely have their way with your children, and they don't want to be bothered by you. Who are you to tell me I can't have my way with your children? This is what this is really all about. These motherfuckers are nasty. Anyway, much love, like, share, subscribe, and let's keep marching forward toward freedom.